Just even like removing all of Amon's back, or marionettes, not marionettes. Why am I forgetting it right now? All of Amon's backland. All of Amon's. No! What? Why am I forgetting what I was about to say? So, what we are... that I found that were really interesting and fun avatars. Amon's avatars. Avatars. It's okay, it'll come to me. Bro, Amon just stole my thoughts. Amon literally just stole my thoughts. I'm gonna have to restart. Hello and welcome back. It is time for volume 5 review. Yay! So I have started volume 6. I've only started the first 9 pages, and my god, is so much already happening. But I wanted to get my volume 5 review out of the way because I feel like I'm gonna get through this volume a lot quicker, and I didn't want to procrastinate it because then I feel like I'm just gonna get spoiled by a bunch of stuff before I can get out some theories and ideas and stuff that I want to take away from volume 5. So if you are new here, thank you so much for joining. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. As we do, we are going to be going over some characters that stuck out, the Tarot Club members. Trissy, oh, R.I.P. my girl. Someone always dies. Someone always has to die at the end of each volume. And then we're going to go over some things that happened throughout volume 5 that I did really enjoy reading and I want to yap about. And then we will go through some theories that I have for the remainder of the book. Will they be right? I don't know, but I feel like I'll probably find out fairly quickly with the pace that these next volumes are going. So, without further ado, let's get into my Lord of Mysteries, Volume 5, Red Priest review. Okay, so starting off with some characters that I really loved. First off, my standout character from volume 5, which is crazy because he was only really in it for like the last little bit of the latter half of the book, was Red Angel Medici. Love him so much. Every single time we had, and like we didn't even have his POV so many times, but every time we had his POV, which was I think I can count like 2 or 3 times, it was just so enjoying. It was so enjoying. Like the time when he was just like, who's calling me? And he was just like in bed. And like the great thing about these volumes and Cuttlefish's writing is like, yes, the first few books were very heavy on like lore and learning stuff and going, and you're still doing that later on, but I said this before, like you now start to actually see these characters really come through in the second half of the books, which I'm really excited about. And even those small little moments with Red Angel Medici, his personality and character just like bursted off the page, which was so interesting and like fun to see, and I really enjoyed his character every single time that happened. I have said this before, he will probably become one of my all-time favorite characters if we continue on the same path that we're going right now, because I truly love. I hope we get so much more of him. I hope he becomes more of like a pivotal person in the volumes and in the books going forward, because I really do love it so much. And then going through the Tarot Club, starting with Audrey. I just love Audrey. I do. And I really hope that by the end of these books, she's getting close. Her and Susie both, because Susie obviously has to advance with Audrey, but I really hope that by the end of these books, like, she is in such a position of power and she is able to kind of make moves and maneuvers, because she's so smart. She's very young, but she's very smart, and she, with the Spectator Potion, now knows how to read people and do people. I could see her like ending in 2 types of ways. One where she's in like politics, position of power, she's like a high-ranking tycoon, something like that. Or I could see her like in true Audrey fashion, just because she's such a sweetheart, like doing some charity work and helping the people in like the lower economy of Backland and stuff like that. And especially after the war goes on, like I assume there's going to be a lot of people who are displaced, and I could see her doing things along that. I also have a theory about the war and like how that's going to affect the Tarot Club and what they're going to have to do to kind of maneuver around that. And then with Derek, I'm assuming we're going to get a lot more Derek in this volume in particular, but especially like volume 7 and volume 8, now that we are finally at the land of the Forsaken Gods, and the City of Silver is just over the hill. So I'm assuming we're gonna get a lot more POV with Derek. I just want him to be happy. He's not a fighter. I mean, he is, but with Derek, I'm like, he's such a sweet boy. He's gone through so much. And he always just kind of is just like, okay, like, it is what it is, on to the next. Obviously, he has, like, his traumas and stuff, but I'm just like, I think that my prediction with that is that Colin Iliad's gonna die at some point, and Derek's gonna kind of have to take over, and then he's gonna end up really just stepping forward and kind of doing things and really push himself. And then I really hope that after this book is done, he can just kind of have a relaxing life. And I really hope he doesn't die. I hope none of them die. Oh, dude, if one of the tarot members died, that would actually be so sad and devastating. But I really hope that with Derek, he'll keep advancing, and he'll get super strong, and he'll end up just building himself up, but then he can just have an enjoying and relaxing life. Same with Alger. Alger, we're getting little tidbits more. The war's starting, so I'm assuming he's going to get pushed into the war, and he's going to end up having to fight for the Lord of Storms and the Lowen Kingdom and all of these things. And I wonder with him if it's going to kind of like, he's going to get kind of torn apart between a few things. I'm not totally sure. But I'm also wondering, like, with that, because of where Klein's at right now, I don't think we're going to have any more tarot clubs. So I'm wondering if this war breaks out and it becomes a thing, during kind of this war and during stuff going on, like, the tarot club kind of meets in secret in person. And I think that Alger might be the one who organizes that, which I think would be really cool. Because Alger, like, his character, he wants to be important. He wants to be powerful. I think at the end of the book, he will be either like, he'll be like one of the five kings of the seas, or he doesn't really want to be in the Lord of Storms. I think he's just going to be like a really high-ranking pirate. I do. Or he might even be like, yeah, I don't know, because I wonder if, like, with the colonies and stuff, because we have, like, touched on how they were colonized and stuff. I wonder if we might see certain places break up because of this war that goes, and I don't know. I wonder where Alger's gonna end up, but I know it's gonna be somewhere like high ranking, and like all his work and everything that he pushed himself for and he wanted for himself is gonna come true. And I really love that about his character, is like, he's very, very smart, but he's also incredibly determined, and it's fun to read about when he notices that all the tarot members advance, but especially when Kalia advances, and he's just like, this is like kind of competition. I really have to push myself and keep going, which I love that about his character, and it's always very interesting to read. And you get more of that as the volumes go on, which is fun. And then we have Fours and Shio. Fours? She's, one nice thing Amon did was now Fours and Garamond Sparrow cannot hang out anymore, which is nice. But I do want Boris to advance. So I'm wondering if during kind of this war, if it starts to become a thing and stuff starts to happen, she's going to go around, and we're going to see kind of like through her POV what war actually brings, and like the destruction of it, because she'll go around and kind of like write it down and report it and stuff like that. And then obviously Shio will be right next to her, and they'll kind of go, and Shio doesn't really, here's the thing, Shio doesn't really do much. Her whole thing about the plot of like the king and her dad and stuff is kind of already done. So I wonder where they're going to take her character for the next little bit. Like, I assume her and Fours will be together, and I can see them traveling around and kind of writing down stuff and things, but I'm wondering where that character is going to go and what she's going to do. I hope it'd be something cool. And I also could see Shio at the end of this book becoming a high-ranking military personnel, which I think would be really interesting for her character. Like, she's 4'0", probably underestimated a lot, so I think for her to become a high-ranking military personnel and really proving herself would be a very full circle moment for her, which I really enjoy. And then we have Katlia. She's got to deal with Frankly. She's got enough on her plate. She's got more than enough on her plate. With Katlia, also thinking that she's gonna get involved with the war. And I think that it's going to end up becoming kind of a thing where she meets with the Terror Club and she does things. And I think that she's going to end up doing, like, shipments and stuff. I don't know, but, like, she's going to do, like, because she's a pirate, like, she'll do shipments, or she'll do something behind the scenes, and she'll be, like, a really behind the scenes type worker in whatever the Terror Club is planning for these future events that are going to happen. And that's going to be kind of like a thing for her. And then also at the end, like, hopefully she becomes, like, a really high-ranking pirate, and she ends up having, like, a full circle moment as well. And then we have Emlyn. I love Emlyn so much. He's in the dungeon right now. He's not living his best life. He's actually living his worst life. I don't know when he's gonna get out, but I have a theory that he's gonna get broken out. Like, they're not gonna let him out. The Terror Club's gonna have to come and break him out, which is gonna be interesting. And then, yeah, obviously he'll start leading the Sanguine in a way, and that's going to kind of be his journey and stuff, and he'll be a pivotal person in that. He'll keep advancing and keep going. And then we have Leonard. Y'all know how I feel about Leonard. I have a theory with Leonard. I wonder if he's a captain now. But here's the thing. I could see him breaking away from the Evernight Church. I could see him having to, like, choose, especially with everything that's going on in this world right now. I could see him having to choose between, and maybe this is when they have to, like, break out Emlyn or something, and then he chooses, like, the Fool or the whatever, like, the Cult of the Fool, and he ends up choosing them and going forward, and kind of leaves the Evernight Church. Not leaves it, like, doesn't disregard the Evernight, because I know, like, Klein's also blessed of her, and there's, like, a whole thing, but, like, I guess in the eyes of the Evernight Church, like, he kind of, like, leaves. And that becomes a thing, and he, like, chooses that, and then he maybe has to go on the run, but he also takes his team. So that's, like, one option. Or, other option, he becomes someone super, super high-ranking in the Red Gloves and the church, and he also, like, leads something. I could see all of these characters leading their own, whether that's government, like, military, or, like, Derek. Oh, you know what I could see Derek doing? Like, I could see him becoming, like a healer or something. Or, like, leading, like, I wonder if Derek could lead, like, a church or something like that. Like, he could just do, because I want him to do something that's, like, low cortisol. So, like, leading something at the end of this, and I feel like Leonard's gonna have to make a choice at some point, maybe. I don't really know. We also have the whole thing of Palaz Zorast, and, like, him being parasitized, and what happens when Palaz Zorast is not parasitized, and, like, if anything's gonna happen there. Because I wonder if Palaz is gonna maybe, like, sacrifice himself for Leonard, or something's gonna happen, and we're gonna have, like, a really touching scene where Leonard has to say goodbye to the grandpa. I don't know. We're gonna see. And then lastly, Gammon Sparrow. Oh, my husband. Love him endlessly. I'm so sad that we might not see him as much in the next little bit, but I don't even know what to say about him. I'm just so excited. Every time he comes on my screen, I just get so giddy and so happy, and I really hope that persona stays forever and ever, and it'll be so good. One thing, though, I've noticed about, like, Klein is, obviously now he's a demigod. He's not as Kleiny as he once was, if that makes sense. And I mentioned this on my live one time where I was just like, hey, like, Klein now is written and, like, acts and is coming off the page very different from even Klein at the beginning of Volume 5. I think it was, like, 60% of the way through Volume 5, and I was like, pause, something's up with him. And obviously he's a demigod, so I wonder if that's gonna kind of start to progress. And the way that he acts and, like, is kind of how he portrayed his persona as Gammon Sparrow in the very beginning, where it's just, like, it's very disconnected. It's not, like, it's just, like, not a person. It's just, like, someone there who has a job and a mission and has to get stuff done, and, like, that's where Klein is heading. So I'm curious, well, not curious, I'm pretty sure that that's where we're kind of gonna go. And I've thought this for a very long time, where Klein's gonna lose his humanity. Klein's not gonna be around as much to be Klein. He's going to be the fool. Like it's going to be this persona that he's portrayed of sitting there silently on the chair. That's who he's going to become. And like that's the trajectory that we're kind of heading with Klein. And then lastly, we have to talk about my girl Trissy. R.I.P. my girl Trissy. It was so funny. I made like a little thing just before I read the last little bit, and I was like, oh, I think these people, Trissy's not gonna die. She's a cockroach, and she ended up dying. I'm happy she died the way that she died. Not happy she died, but happy that she died the way that she died, and she like completed her goal and completed her mission. She did what she wanted to do, and like she earned my respect. But I was like, oh, you really don't know what you have until it's gone. Because now I'm like, oh wait, now we have no more Trissy. Klein's not going to be meeting her in the sewers anymore. That's so upsetting. But I did really enjoy her character while she was there, and I will miss her because she was a really good character to have in the show. But other than that, those are some of the characters that I really enjoyed and I wanted to chat about and talk about. And I think that was it with those guys. Starting off with some things that I really enjoyed about this volume, some moments that I wanted to yap about. Starting off with the time that Klein did his best to remove all of Amon's avatars from Backland. Failed. But I thought that part was like very fun to read about, and it was very stressful. Every time Amon is on my page, I feel a pit of anxiety that I can't describe other than when you're about to like jump off a really high diving board and you like look down at the water and you're like, oh my God, I'm actually about to do this. And that's the feeling I have whenever I see a monocle pop up. And I'm just like, yep, I'm good. So that was very fun to read about. And then I'm assuming at the end of this book, something's gonna happen. It's either gonna be like the war, or we're gonna see like a battle or something. And Klein, his ability to just utilize everybody that he's, I guess, like collected over these volumes is always so fun to read about, because he has like these high-ranking people. It's like Willow Upton, Renat Tinker. I'm assuming Evernight's gonna be there because she's kind of got his back as well. Love her. And I'm gonna do my best to follow along with everything that's being written and enjoy this kind of like chaos of a fight, because then I'm assuming like we're gonna have like Zertel and Amon and Adam, and then maybe like Medici's there, and it's just gonna be everybody's just kind of like fighting everybody, which we got a little bit of at the end of volume 5, but I know it's gonna be on a bigger scale going forward, which is always very interesting to read. Then we had the whole segment of going back into Roso's travels with Leonard and Audrey. I cried a few times because obviously it's like a little bit sad, but the Hall of Truth, we had some truth come out in the Hall of Truth. The agenda might have to change though. I won't lie. The agenda might have to change after reading those first 9 chapters of volume 6. We will see. I may have to start a new rumor. With that being said though, it was so cool to see the Rose Redemption and learn about how that started and like what actually happened to the ancient sun god, and that it was just like a big old coup. And I am curious because it's just like there was 11 people around the table, and this might be like a stretch. I might be reaching it. Cuttlefish likes to take a lot from obviously like religion and like mythology and all these things. When I kind of think of it, I think of it like 12 disciples. There's 11 people at the table. So that I kind of had in the back of my brain was I was like, curious. We'll see. But other than that, the Hall of Truth was always so fun. That will probably be, thinking of all the chapters, it's definitely in my top 5. I'm going to do, like, once I finish a top 10 of my favorite chapters. It's definitely in the top 5 of my favorite chapters. Because it was, to watch Klein, who this whole time has been so good at hiding all of this, finally be just like completely exposed. And then to have Leonard there and then Audrey there, the two worst, a spectator and then someone who knew him as Klein, the two worst possible people to be there. And then for him to be described as, or not described, but disguised as Gehrman Sparrow. Like, what a trio. What an awful situation for Klein to be in. But that was so enjoying to read, and I loved the Hall of Truth so much. We also had Klein. We also learned that crazy. Here's the thing. The amount of lore drop you get in volume 5, and I'm assuming volume 6 and 7 and 8, like it's crazy, and it just boom 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 boom. You don't even have a second to breathe. But Klein advances Scholar of Yore, and the whole thing about him in the cocoons, which brace yourselves, I have another theory about the cocoons. I have another theory about the cocoons. How he was stuck in there for minimum 300 years and how everything went about that. And then also for him to now be a Scholar of Yore sequence 3, that sequence is broken. The power is broken. That's so crazy and powerful how, and I love that he's just gonna keep getting more and more. A lot of them are, especially when you get to like higher sequences, like a lot of this pathways are pretty broken, but the seer pathway, like it's very broken around this stage. I'm like, yeah, I would not want to come up against you. And maybe that's why I'm so scared of him being around Amon, is because I'm like, you can't do anything, buddy. Like, you are so powerful, you cannot do anything. R.I.P. my boy. We're gonna see what happens with that. But yeah, so he advanced, and then we also had the war breakout, which I've talked about before. With the war, it's finally begun. Stuff's going on. Things are happening. I think that we're not gonna have a tarot club. Like, we're gonna end up starting to miss them because either Amon has Klein kidnapped. I actually think Amon's gonna kidnap Klein. I think that he might... he is kidnapping Klein, but I think he's gonna like actually like trap Klein somewhere, and he might not do some great things to him. So we're gonna see what happens. But I feel like we are gonna miss at least a couple tarot meetings, and then the tarot club members are gonna have to, and I thought this last volume ending as well, where I was like, the tarot club members are gonna have to meet outside, and I think that's gonna be during the war, because like Alger and Leonard are obviously gonna probably be fighting in the war at doing something, and then I think Audrey's gonna be like partaking in it. Forz and Shio are going to be off doing their own thing. Emlyn, I think they're going to rescue Emlyn, and he might also be kind of like a background doing things behind the scene character, maybe like for the Sanguine. Something's going to happen, but I think they're going to have tarot meetings like outside, and it's going to be, do you remember when in volume 2 Klein was going to those secret Beyonder gatherings? I think it's going to be something like that, where we have like the knocks in the newspaper and stuff like that. And that's going to be kind of what they end up doing. And I could see Alger being the one to set that up. I could also see Leonard being the one to set that up. So I could see it being Alger or Leonard being the ones who like set that whole thing kind of up. But I kind of hope it is Alger that does it. Or Leonard, one of the two. And then back to the war. I feel like that's going to start to bring about a lot of like problems, and I wonder if we're gonna start to see like the colonies like break off, or like something happen. Like I could see stuff really going down and like happening with this, and that's gonna go into like a bit more of my theories about what I think the end goal is for Adam and Mon and just everybody in the book, what kind of the end goal is with all that, and then also my cocoon theories. So those are some of the things that stuck out to me this volume. Yeah, those are some of the things that stuck out to me this volume. There was a lot more that happened, but I don't want to be sitting here chatting for about 3 hours. So those are just like the main basic ones. And without further ado, let's get into my theories for the remainder of the volumes. Perfect, so it is now everybody's favorite time. It is theory time. Yay! So we're gonna start off with a few that I've already slowly started to mention. We're not gonna be getting a tarot club. The tarot members are gonna have to meet in the real world and kind of expose themselves, and then have to start doing like secret gatherings. I also think that Mr. Door will get released at some point, and I'm wondering if Amon's gonna be the one to release him, to like get back at him. That's one thing I'm wondering. Like I think he'll use Zeratil to do it. Like I think Amon's gonna get his get back with Zeratil, and then he's gonna get his get back with Mr. Door, and he's got a bit of a hit list. So I think that's maybe gonna be kind of what that is, and he's gonna kind of get those. And then I've also mentioned I think Amon will keep Klein alive, but maybe not in the best condition for a little bit. And then Klein I think is going to have to escape. And this is where I don't think we're going to get much like Dwayne Dantes, Garrett Sparrow, Sherlock Moriarty, Klein. We're going to get the new persona, because I know we get one more. We're going to get a new persona at some point, and this is going to be after Klein escapes, and it's going to be because he has to like really go on the run and go in hiding, and we're really going to see that like Klein alone and isolated arc that we've kind of been leading up to, where he's just like really not there, and that's also going to like start to add to him not really being Klein but just being the fool and this like being an entity. So I think those are like some things that we're gonna see. I also think we're gonna see a Roselle cameo at some point, because it's been hinted at, it's been discussed. Like we're gonna get a Roselle cameo. I've thought this from the very beginning. We're gonna get a Roselle cameo at some point. Maybe in this volume, if not in this volume, in a future volume. And I still don't know how that's gonna work or what it's gonna be or what we're gonna get, but we're gonna get a Roselle cameo. And then the cocoons. The cocoons! So I don't have, like, too much to talk about with the cocoons. I think that, first off, I'll start with the obvious one. So, obviously, it's Roselle and Klein, and then I used to think the first person was the Ancient Sun God. And I was like, oh, it was the Ancient Sun God. I don't think that anymore. I didn't think that about halfway through Volume 5, or, like, 70% of the way through Volume 5. He's from Earth, but I don't think he was in the cocoons. And then I thought it was Adam for a little bit, and then I'm like, no, that actually doesn't make sense, so it's not Adam. I think that whoever was in the cocoons, though, like the first person, because obviously there's like 100 and some odd years between Roselle and Klein, but I think the first person in the cocoon was like from way back. Like he came out of the cocoons way back ago, like maybe in like the third epoch, or like maybe even the second during the cataclysm. Like I don't really know, but I think he was like from a, like he wasn't, maybe he was the fourth epoch, I don't know, but I'm thinking the first cocoon person was like from way back, and that also means that I think that the cocoons have been there for a very, very long time. Like it's said that it's like at least 300 years because of Klein's whole like what he needs for Scholar of Yore, but I think that the cocoons have been there for thousands of years and they've just been waiting. That's one thing. And then also with, okay, so this is kind of cheating because this came from the beginning of Volume 6 when we were talking about the error pathway and Amon and bugs, and you guys have been like commenting and like giving little hints the entire time, and I've been so confused, and now I finally get the joke and what it means. But with like errors and bugs, and then he was like Trojan horse, I think of like a computer. I think of maybe it was a game. I don't think it'd be like a web novel and you got sucked in, but I think it was like maybe like a game, or it was a website or something, and something happened and it like sucked these people in, and that's how they got into the cocoons, something like that. But then I don't know, I was up for like kind of a stupid amount of time thinking about this last night, where I was like trying to wrap my brain around it. When it was talking about like error, in my brain, when I think of error, I think of like malfunction error, like system error, like something happened error, which could be related to some sort of like software or like AI or something like that, where it was like a malfunction. But I'm like, it reminds me of like a like system error, like something really bad is happening error, and like that's kind of where my brain went with it. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. And then I was thinking where I was just like, the ancient sun god had Amon and he had Adam, and then he specifically had the error pathway, and then he had spectator pathway, and that was that whole thing. I don't really know. I was like trying to see if there was a correlation between the two of them, and I couldn't really find anything that would have to do with it. But I was curious when I was like thinking of the spectator pathway. Okay, obviously it's like author, and you think of writing, and you think of web novels, and you think of all of these, like that's where I was like, okay, it could be this. However, if you kind of look just below, you'll see it's very much kind of like okay, you know when you're like working and you have like your boss or your manager, like whatever, and they write like a set of rules you have to follow? That's kind of where like my brain went to with it in correlation to like Amon's whole like error pathway thing, where it was just like you write a set of rules, and that also kind of like translates where it's like they write the future and they do that, but it's like you write a set of rules, you write a set of like operations and things you have to do, and like that's why I said it could be like a game or something where it's like you have to follow these instructions, and then it's just like, oh well, the instructions weren't followed and an error happened. And that's kind of like the only real correlation I can think of with it. That's literally it. So I'm like, it's got to be something to do with that. So I'm like, maybe it was like a software, like an AI engineer or something like that, who didn't follow the instructions or the rules, and then like an error, like a really bad thing happened, and then these people got sucked in or something happened. I don't really know. But that was kind of like the correlation I have with that. So I don't know. I really truly don't know. And also, throughout this volume, we really started to talk about the cosmos and all of this, like, space beyond the door and just all of these things and stuff. And it gave, like, very, like, in a weird way, it gave, like, very, like, multi-dimensional vibes, if that makes sense. I don't really know. Where it was just, like, I know where it's just, like, space and stuff. Or, like, I assume, like, the cosmos that they talk about like are the cosmos, but also it's just like it could be like where like that's kind of the vibe it gave with that, where it was just like, hey, like there's more to this, and it's not just one place, it's multiple places and multiple different things and stuff. So that was kind of a possibility that I've been stewing on. I need more information about it, which I assume we're gonna get at some point. And then also, my theory on who's gonna die this volume, because I feel like somebody always dies. I don't have an idea yet. I have maybe some idea. I don't have a full idea yet on who I think is gonna die this volume. But I'm wondering, I still think Bernadette's gonna die at some point. I don't know if it'll be this volume, because I thought she was gonna die last volume, but I don't know. I could see it being Palazorast this volume, him dying, maybe sacrificing himself for Leonard, like I said, or something happens, like Amon gets him. I am also curious if it could be Colin Iliad. That's a big one that I'm like, I think he might die this volume, and then Derek has to really step up. So those are kind of the few that I'm wondering. And then speaking of Colin Iliad, Shepherd Lovia. I do not trust her. 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 She's going to do something. I know she's going to do something. I really, truly don't trust her. And I really hope this isn't like another Captain Dunn situation where at the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, no. But I'm like, I don't trust her. And I think she's going to do something. And I think that that's what's going to lead to Colin Iliad's death, maybe, possibly. I don't know. What other small little theories was I thinking of? Let me look at my notes really quick. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. I think the primordial gods will come back. I, like the giants and the dragons and the elves. I don't know if they'll come back, but I do think that they're gonna come back. I don't know. I think that we're gonna get like a little something's there, or Klein's gonna go back there. Like, I think we're gonna get one of the two, where it's like Klein's gonna go back there, or they're gonna come here. I think that's gonna be something with those. It could not, but I could see that happening, where like Klein either goes back to when they're around in like literally the first or second epoch, or like we get this and we get like a full storyboard, and that's the whole thing. And then my final theory is this has to do with Amon and Adam. Adam, one of two things. He's either working with Klein, or he's working against Klein and with Amon. No in between. He's either working with Klein against Amon, or working with Amon against Klein. Like, those are the only two options I really see for Adam. And then with Amon, I don't know what this guy wants. I don't know what he wants. I don't know what he wants to really accomplish. Like I have an idea of what he wants to accomplish just based on like what has been like written and stuff, but I'm not totally sure what his end goal is. I know Adam, it was mentioned that Adam wants to bring the ancient sun god back. I wonder if Amon just kind of wants to start chaos. And maybe he'll be the one that brings back like the old gods, maybe, and he just wants to kind of, I know that they both want to get super powerful. Like obviously Amon wants to become a sequence zero, Adam wants to become a sequence zero. Like they both want to become sequence zeros. Amon wants access to Sephra Castle. So after he gets access to Sephra Castle, like I want to see, like I want to know what his goal is. And this is where I think like it might be like him taking over this world and like other worlds and just like starting absolute chaos and just like problems and stuff just for the love of the game. Because truly the read you get on Amon is like he's just doing this for the love of the game. He's just like, this is fun, I just want to do this, I just want to see what happens when I pull this thread or prick out this needle. Like I want to see how things go. So I'm wondering if that's kind of where his whole thing is, where like obviously they want him to be super powerful, but Adam wants to be powerful so that way he can bring back the ancient sun god and keep everything in check, like a director, like a manager, like someone who's like overlooking everything. Whereas Amon wants to get super powerful to see like how much he can stir up, what he can do, what mischief and chaos he can create for fun. And then obviously like get back at Medici, get back at Zerto, get back at Mr. Door, get back at the Hangman, get back at all these people that he's just like, but once that's done, we're done. So that's kind of where I'm curious on these guys, and I'm very interested to see what happens in these next few chapters, because where we're at right now, Amon has Klein, and they're gonna fight at some point. Well, Klein's gonna fight, Amon's probably gonna dog walk him around the park. And then they're going to this one area and they're waiting for someone to come, and like all these things are just kind of like, it's very tension building. So I'm very curious to see what happens in these next few chapters. Well, other than that, that's what I've got for my kind of review and my theories going forward. And I'm just super curious to see kind of where the story ends up going and how things end up playing out. So if you would like to come and join, we will be streaming it in a few hours on my YouTube, and I have them sectioned off. Like I'm pretty sure tonight I'm reading chapter 1160 to 1168. I think that's the section that I'm reading tonight. So if you want to come watch that, you are more than welcome to. It will be at 4 p.m. PST. If not, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.